The bubonic plague ravaged Europe for centuries and claimed hundreds of thousands of lives. In 1619, Charles Delorme, a royal French physician, invented the plague suit the doctors wore in an attempt to protect themselves from the miasma that they believed was causing the plague. The miasma theory basically states that bad odors cause disease. At the same time, however, these doctors recognized their own vulnerability, and so covered themselves in a manner that mimics what we know today as the hazmat suit. The plague suit consisted of long coats of leather, into which had been rubbed honey-scented beeswax, and wore gloves with long, thick gauntlets. Over their head they wore curious masks with windows of the finest glass, which bore beak-like projections that were regularly filled with fresh herbs and dried petals. And atop their head they wore their wide hats that distinguished them as physicians. Although the suit served to protect the physicians, it gave them an ominous look that would have given little comfort to see that dark figure bend down as though to peck you. The mask alone gave doctors the appearance of a carrion bird that was there perhaps to feed on death rather than to heal illness. The final piece of the suit was a cane the physician would carry, that would contain a small perforated chamber into which further scented unguents could be placed. Or, if the physician were a man of substance, he would carry a torch-like apparatus with charcoal that was sprinkled with gums and resins, which would be placed at the top of the torch in order to perfume the air in front of the physician. Combined, the suit and the torch were an attempt to protect physicians from getting the plague themselves, yet there is no doubt that it put fear into patients rather than provide reassurance of caring and healing. The ominous guise of the plague doctor has been a constant throughout history, frequently remembered during Carnival. Carnival is a celebration that ends in March, typically leading up to the start of the Catholic season of Lent, which is a time of fasting and repentance. In Venice, Italy, Carnival is generally believed to have first been held in the 11th century before the plague suit was invented, and originally lasted for nearly 2 months with partying, festivities, and the wearing of masks to hide social status. The tradition of Carnival has lasted centuries, and so has the image of the plague doctor, otherwise known as the medico della peste. The phrase memento mori has withstood many centuries and means remember that you must die. Memento mori is a phrase that has been repeated in times of crisis, such as the plague, as a reminder of mortality, since the plagues were periods filled with overwhelming uncertainty and the reality of death. The phrase is oriented towards the future, where one is able to confront in death the awakening of intractable reality, which would have then provided a realistic method of coping with the plague and the death that ensued. The image and the suit of the plague doctor have continued to serve as a memento mori throughout centuries. The mask of the medico della peste, or plague doctor, is rarely worn alone today. Many who wear the mask also wear the entire suit as a popular costume in Venetian Carnival. Many mask makers are beginning to further decorate and adorn the plague doctor mask, but some of the more traditional beak masks that are made today immortalize the image of the medico della peste on the mask itself, with a picture of the plague doctor in full costume with a history of the plague doctors written below. The doctor's plague mask provides a stark contrast to the many masks worn by attendees of Carnival, which is fitting for the dark message of the phrase memento mori and the darkness surrounding the memory of the plague. The image of the plague doctor almost always was associated with death during the plague, but now it is a memento mori seen in Venetian Carnival.